Hey everybody, welcome off the rack. I'm Sal.
I'm Tiffany.
That's right, we're starting right now. Welcome to the live show where we take comics from this past week, recap, review them, let you know what we thought about them, and then we talk about books that are coming out next week we think you should buy. I'm Sal.
I'm Tiffany, which we said.
We did?
Yeah.
All right, well, welcome to the show, everybody. Before we get started, I want to give a couple of top-of-the-show reminders. Number one, the show is entirely funded by a number of things. We can't entirely rely on AdSense and just people watching the shows and then clicking the ads. Or not clicking the ads, but just having them there anyway. It's just not sustainable, and so as such, we have to diversify our portfolio, so to speak, and so we do that by having this live show where we can interact with you using super chats. People pay a little bit of scratch to have their question or comment read on the show. We feel it's at least kind enough to incorporate those into the show. We try to make it organic, so it's not quite as intrusive as all that. But it's a lot of fun. We hope you will participate if you are so inclined and if you can afford it. Speaking of affording things, if you can, we're also entirely funded by a little endeavor known as Patreon. You probably heard of it. It's an ongoing Kickstarter effort that people have, creatives use to finance their endeavors and keep people like you happy with the things that we make. So go to patreon.com/ComicPOP to get early access to videos like back issues, up-to-date weekly kind of like behind-the-scenes goings-on the operation, let you know a little bit about what's going to come out. So a lot of people actually knew about the show because the update went out this afternoon, so people knew to come here and wait for the show.
Thank you for waiting.
Thank you for waiting.
It's really my fault.
That's fair. Also, if you are a fan, you might have also would have enjoyed today's episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is another sister show of ours. It's a great show where we take some books and just kind of you can get into it. Check them out.
Yeah.
But back issues for this week is coming out, and it's already there over there on the Patreon. So you can watch now.
It's exciting?
Yeah, it's Avengers. Because Endgame comes out this week.
Oh, nice.
So
that's a good call.
Thank you.
Good
yeah.
Call. We've shot so many that I was like,
I know,
I
got a
don't
lot.
remember what anything is
Nope.
and when it's coming out.
For example, by the way, using those super chats, Bright Blue just said, "Fine, you robber barons." Thank you very much, man. Fine comment and a good contribution. Nice way to kick off the show. So, all right, let's talk about some books that came out this week or this past week that we want to chat about. I want to talk just briefly about Daredevil number 4.
Okay.
From Chip Zdarsky.
Yes.
This book is crazy and dark, but without being in any way similar to the darkness you'd come to expect from the Brubaker, the Bendis, the Miller era. By the way, Marco Cicchetto does this incredible pencil work. It is sketchy but proportionate and realistic without being like Alex Ross kind of stuff. It's just very appropriate for a Daredevil book. Grounded, you might say, but still allowing for the fantastic. In this issue, Punisher has rescued Daredevil from being arrested because Daredevil murdered, he accidentally manslaughter, you might say.
Yes.
Somebody got killed on his watch. He's the guy who did it. He beat the guy too bad, too hard.
Oh yeah, that was like the first issue, right?
First issue.
Yeah.
He's still dealing with the follow-up from that. And I think that's going to be the whole crux of the series.
That's fair. I mean,
Catholic dude killed somebody by accident. He's going to be dealing with that for the rest of his life.
Ooh.
So you got Frank. He swoops in. Frank Castle, that is. The Punisher swoops in, rescues Daredevil, brings him to his safe house, along with a snitch who might be able to tell him about the Owl, a gangster and Punisher / Daredevil villain.
Yeah.
It's a great interaction between the two of them. Punisher's kind of like, all right, you're killing people now. Welcome to the team, man. And Daredevil's like, God damn it, Frank, I hate you so much. And the two of them get into a pretty big brawl. Punisher tries to prove Daredevil's horseshit tactics by being like, I'm going to kill this guy. And Matt's like, come on, don't do it. And he's like, all right, I won't. You're free. Sets the guy free. It's like, off you go. It's going to be hard to get out because we're in a kind of a labyrinth, but good luck. Guy immediately goes for an AK-47. Frank pops on between his eyes.
Okay.
And Matt's like, damn it! You didn't even give him a chance. He's like, I gave him more of a chance than I've ever given anybody.
That's better than them getting into a brawl because Frank tried to give him a Punisher pin. He's like, here you go.
Oh, it gets worse than that.
You're part of the club, man.
He is part of the club because basically the two of them get into this fight and it's ideological but also physical. It's pretty dope. But at the end of the day, Matt grabs a couple of pistols and he's like, you've no idea what I'm capable of. And if I were to go to your side, I would be unstoppable. The line is, you may be a demon, but I'm the devil. And then blows up his safe house and then takes his t-shirt and wears it. So now Daredevil is a kind of Punisher.
Does he not have anything else?
He was not wearing a shirt at the time.
Okay.
But it's
I was
also
like,
a symbolic gesture being like, I'm going to go F some shit
Hold
up.
on, I have a very important question. What happens to the Punisher van?
We don't see the van. He's in a safe house. So
Okay,
my
so
guess
the
is
van-
the van's in a...
The van's safe.
I'm assuming the van's safe.
Okay.
He has lots of vans.
Well, they're kind of easy to get a hold of.
That's true. But it's a great book. Pick it up. If you're not on board already, you should be by now, because people are going to be talking about this run. People are going to be talking about it like, oh, what's your favorite run? Oh, I love Bendis. Oh, Bendis. Is that even in trade anymore?
Right.
Zdarsky.
Right. Which is great, because I know you were a little lukewarm on the first issue. You weren't really sure where Zdarsky was going to go with this. So I'm really glad you stuck with it, because I think Spider-Man had something to do with your sticking with it, and I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point.
Absolutely. But... Also, our Elseworlds Exchange episode, in which Chip Zdarsky actually was kind enough to join us on the show.
Probably another good one.
Yeah.
I'm sad I missed that conversation.
Me too. I'm hoping to do a sequel where you take the lead, because he really wanted to talk about art and I'm really not good. I'm like, I like the books where they look cool and they punch each other. And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to do a whole kind of like Art Nouveau thing going on. No.
What?
He's not doing Art
I'm
Nouveau.
like, he doesn't do Art Nouveau.
No, he doesn't. He was actually, we talked about the covers for Life Story and how he's like, you know, he's like minimalism, and he's like, I want it to be like striking, and he's like, out of every book on the shelf, like my book is always instantly recognizable from like across the room.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to get people from across the room.
Yeah, that's more like a poster than anything else. And
yes.
It's very smart.
It is smart. Every comic book cover for me, like my favorite ones are posters. Are things that you should blow up and put up on the wall. So anyway, jumping into the super chats a little bit before we move on to your book, Jack O'Connell says, I don't know if you're reading it, but Aquaman is great at the moment. I've heard good things about Aquaman, but I'm not. There's only enough hours in the day.
Right.
But I will dip my toe in the pool, the aqua pool, as it will.
This pool is water.
Yeah.
And Aquaman.
Brandon Hogan says, this channel means a lot to me and helped me get into comics. Thank you, ComicPOP. Also, happy belated Easter. Brandon, thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me for you to say that, because like it's nice to hear it. You don't get a chance to really have this kinds of interaction, so I'm glad we got it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and happy Easter to you, or happy Passover to those of you out there, you Meshuggahs out there. I could say it. I worked in a yeshiva school for a little while. But yeah, hey, welcome to the comics world, man. It's a wild ride that'll break your heart, but it's a hell of a toboggan ride. And Estelle Thani's here. He says, hi, how's it going? Hope you had a good week. We certainly did, sir. Thank you so much for joining us here, and of course over on the Purple Channel, where Tiffany is in charge.
Last night, Tiffany lost her son.
Yes, your son. You've abandoned your child. You're the Daniel Plainview of God of War.
I legit abandoned him to poison.
Yeah.
Oops.
Mike Chronic wants a Life of Spider-Man spinoff. You're getting one right now, man. It's a mini series, but like you're gonna see every decade.
I bet they want ongoing.
Listen, you don't, because you don't want too much of a good thing. You know, we all love ice cream, but too much ice cream.
Yes.
You know, but I don't blame you for that.
Yes.
So yeah, what did you read this week?
I wanted to open my stupid seltzer.
Fair enough.
It's not as cool as when you do it. This week, let's see, what am I going to talk about here? Let's talk about Old Man Quill.
Okay, yeah. This is in the Old Man series. There's Old Man Logan, Old Man Hawkeye, and Old Man Quill. You've been kind of like big into the Old Man series.
I really have
been. Which is funny, because you actually co-host the Old Man Logan episode of back issues way back in the day when we were at Funny Books.
Yes.
So like we started your love of Old Man.
Yes.
Insert name of character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is written by Ethan Sachs with art by Ibrahim Robertson. I'm so sorry.
I think it's Ibrahim. But
probably I'm just wrong, which is fine. Don't forget, last issue, the Guardians all got captured and they were taken to where Taskmaster is reigning, and they're in like an arena, and they run into Spider Bitch, and they get thrown into the arena, and Fing Fang Foom shows up.
Yeah,
he's got like a big mind control thing on his forehead, and basically they have to fight Fing Fang Foom, and he's like spitting acid everywhere, and like the phony little Avengers that are there. Like there's like a guy dressed up like Thor and Captain America and Captain Marvel and all this stuff. They're getting taken out left and right. Like they're just dying in hilarious ways.
Yeah.
And basically, Spider-Bitch's whole scheme is to get a weapon and actually assist the Guardians, because she's like, that's probably my best bet out of here.
Yeah.
And Gamora has a plan, and the plan is for Peter to get a hold of one of the drones, because there's Fing Fang Foom, but then keeping everybody in are like drones and other things. So
I thought those were like broadcast drones. They were
no,
like showing everybody
they're
the fun.
gun drones, so that if anyone tries to leave, they're shot.
Sure.
So Spider-Bitch throws Peter up onto the drone, I should say, and then Mantis creates a psychic link, like Martian Manhunter would, between the teams, so they can all talk to one another.
Right, no Bluetooth here. It's all psychic.
Exactly, and Rocket talks Quill through programming the drone so he can use it as a weapon. And he does use it as a weapon, and he opens fire on a bunch of the guards, and then is just like, hold on, I have a plan. He turns it on Fing Fang Foom, because that's what they wanted to do in the first place, and he shoots the mind control device.
Okay.
While this is going on, Taskmaster was like, ooh, this is going really well. Let's call Doom, because I think I'm going to get a promotion. We should see what's going on. We should totally check this out. So he calls him up. Madam Mask is there, and he's like, hey, I'm just checking in. Just want to show you, I got those guys everybody was worried about, that they're causing rabble-rousing and all that stuff. Look what's happening here. And then it just all goes to hell immediately.
Yeah, Foom's free.
Yeah, Foom is free, and he turns to Quill, and she's like, oh, do you expect me to bow to you as well?
Yeah.
And Quill's like, nah, man, I was just kind of hoping you might
clear a path.
Eat the guys who were holding you, and not me. And he was just like, done.
I have no genitals.
Yeah. Fing Fang Foom just basically starts blasting his way through guards, people. He didn't care. He's getting out of there.
Sweet.
And then Spider-Bitch goes and attacks Taskmaster, takes him down a peg, and basically takes control of everything again.
As she wanted to.
Yeah. Quill has a moment where he's feeling bad for himself again, because he's just like, oh, one of the heroes dies next to him, or heroes, and he's just like, another person I couldn't save. And they're like, dude,
get over it, Quill.
Right? And so Drax really lays into him. He's like, I had a family too. Remember my daughter and my wife who Thanos killed, and we will hear about till the end of days.
Yep.
He's just like, I lost them, and so what I'm saying here is get over it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? You're not the only person who's lost things.
No.
And we don't need this right now. We need Peter Quill.
Right.
To help us out. And he's just like, okay. And he pulls himself together, and off they go. And then we check in with Spider-Bitch, and she's like, okay. And they're like, she still has the arena running, and her assistant's like, oh, I think you're gonna like this next one. And they release Taskmaster into the arena, and he's just like, oh, come on, I'm old, leave me alone. And then they open the doors up, and it's the Venom Tyrannosaurus that comes out. And I'm like, it's just literally in the creepy Venom font, just rawr. I'm like, yay, Venom T-Rex is back. And it's just that's it. They just show us that, and then that's over. We then also see that word of Peter Quill and the Guardians is spreading, and people are starting to think that maybe they should fight back against Doom, and that now is the time, that kind of thing. And then the church sends Pulsar to go after Quill.
Okay.
And so that's where we left it. But kind of fun, I get it. I get Quill being whiny and I gotta get over it, and he's working towards it. But I know he wasn't gonna spring back, but this is a mini series, so I'm like, you kind of gotta spring back a little faster than that. But we do get really cool visuals. The rest of the Guardians are written really well, and their personalities come through, and their age makes it all the better for most of them.
Cool.
So
nice.
And Venom T-Rex.
Right. Plus Fing Fang Foom. That's dope.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah.
So.
Jack Rudy says, "You excited for Bendis Batman? Anything but King." I'm on the same page. I am not the biggest Bendis DC fan right now, though I will say that his writing is, when he's excited and when he cares, still there.
Yeah,
he's still talented.
Yes.
So his Batman, while I have not read much of it, because I read the one issue that was it was buried in reprints from the Walmart book, I was like, I'll just wait. And sure enough, there's going to be a trade, and I'll read that. And then I'll decide whether I like Bendis Batman.
And you know what? I gotta say, part of it could be he gravitated towards wanting Superman, because he's one of the most recognizable characters, but also it's a little more out of his wheelhouse, and sometimes creative people want that challenge. Whether or not it works out for them, it does help them possibly in the long run.
Totally.
Because this could help him get past either a creative block or spark the desire to write characters that we would prefer to see him
Yeah.
possibly doing.
That would be nice. Yeah, I think he'd be very suited for like a street level character like Batman, especially if he wants to like try and actually bring him to a street level character
Should give him
status.
Nightwing.
I would like that, but like Dan DiDio would not. So
I know,
that's
but they
the
should
end
give
of
him
that.
Nightwing and just leave Bendis in Bloodhaven.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. Just
Bendis Haven.
Yeah, Bendis Haven. That would be a haven. Flashpool says, if Daredevil is Punisher and Future Frank is Ghost Rider, we must complete the circle, and Johnny Blaze can be Daredevil, or everyone's favorite Danny Ketch.
Yes.
I mean, it would make sense for a Daredevil stuntman who drives a Hell Cycle to be called Daredevil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I think you're onto something
Right?
here.
Yeah.
And Asif Sayed says, love the channel, and you
Oh.
guys make my day. Well, thank you very much,
Thank
man.
you.
You made our day. Thank you so much. All right, there's some other books that came out. I'm not going to get heavy into this one. Justice League number 22.
Okay.
Written by James Tynion IV. He's doing...
That cover, man. Woof.
Oh, it's a mess. Every Legion of
That's-
Doom title has been terrible.
That's a shame.
and it's
That's
also...
like a legit shame.
And it's Francis Manapul.
Doing the cover?
I don't know. It doesn't look like his signature,
No, it definitely doesn't look like.
but
his
Francis
signature.
Manapul does do the interiors, and they are,
They're not bad.
they
They're
are
better.
They're good. No, Francis Manapul is great.
I'm not a fan of the cheetah face I'm looking at right now.
No, it's pretty rough. But
Look, here's the thing. I can't draw a cat either, so
right.
I'm not gonna-
And he can draw most things. As far as the cover is concerned, it doesn't say. But
that's fine.
No, Francis Manapul did the cover. So maybe he was in a rush. In any case, the story basically is like, if you were on the fence about whether or not Scott Snyder was given the keys to the cosmic realm of DC, if it's like, oh, I know that like Jeff Johns is kind of like building towards something and setting up this like new history of the DC universe, that kind of thing, like, oh, where's it gonna go? And you were like, oh, is Johns not really in charge anymore? Like, I know he doesn't have that title anymore, but is he just writing now? Yeah, because this book retcons everything.
Everything?
The book is called The First Crisis, and it basically cements his overly complicated looking character Perpetua as being one of the progenitors of everything. She created the Anti-Monitor and the Monitor and like and more other things. Also, they reveal that the Legion of Doom had Bat-Mite as like a counterbalance to Mixia Spitlick, which of course makes sense. But yeah, we see the origin, like the creation of Barbatos. We see the where the Anti-Monitor like got all gross and became Mobius and took over the anti-life equation. Like, we see all this stuff. Ironically enough, references a lot of those things that John set up in things like Darkseid War. So you're like, because I think Snyder's just a nice guy and likes to play ball. And he's like, listen, you set these things up, I'm not going to throw it all away.
Right.
But if you want to know kind of like the official history of the DC universe through the lens of crises, then read this issue, because it really is. And by the way, Snyder didn't even write the damn thing. He gave it to James Tynion IV. But Tynion does a nice job of like dealing with characters that are larger than life, and basically Perpetua is responsible for why like things are crappy.
Right.
And it's a whole thing. I don't want to get into it too deeply, because again, like, it's a whole thing.
Okay.
And it requires you to really just like get into it and talk about like, does it make sense? And I'll let the eggheads really figure that one out. For me, like, I just want to talk about the story. So like, as far as whether it actually stacks up in the realm of like Final Crisis and what the Monitors are all about, they don't come up. But if you want to talk about Final Crisis and Crisis on Infinite Earths and what Wolfman was doing and versus Johns and now Snyder / Tynion, I don't know. But it kind of fits, especially if you don't think about it. But I'm hyping this up because I think this issue is going to be a lot more important than people are treating it.
Okay.
Because it really is telling you like what happened and what it's all about.
Right.
Pretty important.
Okay. So
also,
I didn't read it. So
I mean, like, you'd think it was boring, and it was.
How do you know?
Because nothing happens. Estelthani also back, says Bendis is the best at what he does, and what he does is ruin my favorite runs. Rest in peace, Uncanny X-Men 1963 to 2018. He did rough up the X-Men. But that's one of those things, by the way. Bendis is like, I haven't done the X-Men, let me try that out. He just shits the bed. Yeah. By the way, the first volume, though, of X-Men, all new X-Men, I dug it. I was like, oh, this is kind of neat. When he brought in the 05, and it was like, interesting. it got away from him, as it is wont to do.
All right, guys, this is a little out of my hands right
Yeah.
now. I am losing control.
Yeah, of the situation, and I need some help. But I'm not going to ask for that because I'm Brian Michael Bendis. But
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
but I've complained Bendis enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
Particularly based on my acquisition from the other day, where I picked up this. You guys know, if you're a fan of this show, you know how much I love this book.
That happened.
Yeah, why'd I pick up that?
I don't know.
Stay tuned to find out.
Right?
But yeah, moving on. Drew Chester also just helping us out. Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
So, what else did you read this week? Oh, by the way, I recommend it. Like, if you know, I think every book I've said so far, I recommend. Okay. I'm just talking about recommendations.
Yeah. So I read a couple of things that I know we're going to talk about together in a minute. But I felt like I should bolster my reading a little bit more. So you know how sometimes I read things that are just trashy and silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on, everybody, because I read Xena Warrior Princess #1.
Hey.
Because I can't help it. I was like, seriously? All right.
Right.
Fine, Dynamite.
Oh yeah. No, Dynamite's not a bad publisher.
No, I know, but still, you're putting out
Xena
right now.
Xena should be great.
And it
That universe lends itself to comics.
kind of was. It's written by Vita Ayala with art by Olympia Sweetman, which is great because it looks fine. It's
good.
all right. It's all good. But there's also a cover by like David Mack, so if you're a fan of that,
Ooh.
yeah, it's pretty cool looking. It's just literally like episodes of Xena.
Good.
It's just that if you were a fan of the show, you're probably going to be a fan of this. They attempt to write each character in their like in the way that they would speak, their cadence.
Mm-hmm.
It falls somewhere in the time period where Xena was established as a show, and we got Gabrielle in her green and brown uniform,
the
and
best
before everything went to hell.
Oh, good. Okay, they should just retcon it that didn't go to hell because that show got really bad.
So that's it. Like, look, if you want to read Xena, I'm really not going to go too much into it. It's literally it's Greek gods. The issue starts out, and the narration is the opening to the title sequence from the show.
As well, it
where
should
it's like
be.
in the time of ancient gods, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
You're like, I know that opening.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and I'm sure it's going to be over the top and silly, and they're literally just diving into it. They're throwing like the Greek goddess Discord in there, who like I remember from the show reruns and stuff. And like she's in a town where there's like these like super strong kids, and it's because they made a deal with a god, and like so she has to deal with it now. But
okay,
yeah, do I recommend it? No. Only if you're a big fan of the show and you're like, who wants to go down a walk down memory lane? I did for a second.
Yeah, and
You know
then you
what I mean?
did, and then it was done.
And I was like, all right, cool, fine. Like, go for it. I don't know. It's totally... It's up to you.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I read that. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing that's ever been written, but
you
it
checked
exists.
it out, and you don't recommend it.
I'm not saying I don't recommend it. I'm just saying if you're not a fan of that, you're not going to be a fan of this book.
Yeah. Stefani also said, it was interesting until it wasn't. Talking about the Justice League book.
That's fair.
Yeah. Apropos the Xena thing, the last time I saw Xena in comics was when she crossed over with the Army of Darkness.
Right. Yeah.
So,
No.
neat.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. It was just one of those, like, I don't know. One of those, like, kind of, like, instant gratification kind of things.
Sure.
Where it's just like, yep, I'm reading that.
I read Batman number 69 by Tom King with art by Yannick Paquette.
You did?
Yep. I thought I'd check in.
Okay.
Well, because I've been like, okay, I hate this run, and I hated it every new arc was worse than the last one, and then this new arc is the last issue. It's called Dark Reunion. It's the last issue of spinning its wheels where Batman has been in a dream for the last like several issues. So like if you've been spending $4 per issue, you probably feel like, why have I been doing this? Well, you might continue to feel this way because this issue is basically Batman pulling himself out of the dream. He doesn't leave the dream at the end of this issue, so don't get too excited. But he does plan on leaving it at the end of it after some revelations. The whole issue is him kind of like reuniting with Catwoman and kind of getting some closure, even though it's not really Catwoman. It's a manifestation of his own inner securities.
Right.
So you got Batman kind of like dancing with Catwoman the entire issue and dancing around the issue of why what is Batman's greatest fear? And he thinks his greatest fear is, like, losing Catwoman or whatever. And she has some news for him. She's like, no, your greatest fear is that you... Is also your greatest truth or something. Doesn't matter. She also refers to the whole suicide thing again. If you've ever read I Am Suicide, Catwoman reveals that Batman tried to kill himself and that Batman is his suicide note, which is another gross interpretation of the character.
Oh.
But in this issue, basically Batman comes to the realization that the reason why she left, because that's it, all he wanted was the answer. Why? Why'd you leave? And she, she's like, I thought it was because blah, 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 like all the reasons that she gave since Batman 50. But it turns out the reason why she left is because the truth is Batman doesn't really love her. And that Bruce Wayne / Batman can't love her. He only loves the mission and the bat. Like, he doesn't love her. And that's what basically, like, the mirror reflection of, like, Catwoman and all of his hopes and dreams says back at him. Is just like, you don't really love me. You think you do, and you think you need to, but you don't. And that's, like, the underlying reality. And now it's time for you to wake up from your dream sequence, and we can get back to the plot. There was a little bit of plot in here where we saw Bane and Thomas Wayne from a Flashpoint future, sparring, if you will. And you're like, oh, who's in charge? And they're jockeying for who's in charge. Kind of like teasing the reader, like, who's really playing who here? That was also in that book. So if you think this whole run is a big slap in the face and it's like really insulting, guess what? It still is. And, so I try very hard not to read books that I'm not going to enjoy. It's why I'm not reading Superman by Bendis. It's why I'm not, like, reading Tom King's Batman. But occasionally, because it's my responsibility as far as this channel goes, is to, like, be informed and know what I'm talking about, is to read these things sometimes, even if, like, I only do it for my own edification, but because it's a review show and I read it, happened to read it today, I was like, let's talk about it. So
Batman's biggest fear is commitment.
Right. Herpaderp. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So that's a thing.
That's all right. Fun.
Yeah. Don't buy it. If you're not happy with it, like, DC thinks Tom King is like the cure for cancer. So, like, if you don't agree, don't buy it. Don't buy anything that you think is bad, because because they don't care if you, like, blog about it or write a tweet or do a YouTube show about it. Like, they don't care.
Right.
If you keep buying it, they'll keep making it.
Yeah, they're like, that's fine.
And by the way, like, new issues are worthless. So, like, don't buy them first week. Like, just wait a month if you're a completist. Estel Thani says, if you want to read Batman, what should you read other than Detective and Justice League? I mean, ain't that enough? You got 2 books that are both with Batman in them. That, granted, the Arkham Knight, but, Detective's a good book, and it's got good creative people on it. So if you want Batman, you got it. Hell, go to Walmart, you read Bendis' Batman.
Yeah.
If you want, like, a hype writer working on it.
Right, and there's, like, the couple at least Snyder's Black Label is going to be coming out.
Yeah, there's also, of course,
enough.
like, there's Batman Damned, which if you want to wait 2 years, you can get the next issue. You can get the upcoming Snyder book. And more importantly, and this is something that I always recommend, because if you're a comic book fan, if you love comics, like, then you're not just waiting week to week, month to month for the newest issue. You're hunting for books.
Yeah.
So, like, DC Universe, the future's uncertain, but, like, they just added, like, 10,000, 20,000 books to their archives. Go back and find books about your favorite characters that you didn't know about. Those aren't bad.
Yeah.
Going back and finding those comics and rediscovering titles, I recommend, if you want to, like, do a deep dive in a book that you probably didn't read, grab Legends of the Dark Knight. That run with, like, Denny O'Neil on, Alan Grant, that run is so essential to Batman, and it's a fun little, like, flashback series that kind of, like, fills in the gaps about what Batman's, like, formative years were. Like, that's solid. Check it out. And it costs nothing, like, or next to nothing, to read those books.
Costs nothing, because you just steal it.
Yeah, don't
do that.
Don't steal comics if you want to see them keep moving on to the next decade. But go into your long boxes or your virtual long boxes on Comixology or DC Universe or, wherever.
Yeah.
And pick up older books. If you're like, man, I hate Batman right now, but I love the character. What am I going to do? Go find old books.
Yeah.
Watch some of our shows. I recommend a lot of Batman stuff. So
You do.
within those Batman books, there's something that I like. So that's what I would recommend. So I just did Batman. What do you got? Anything?
That was it for me.
Okay,
Other than
fair
the books
enough.
that we read together.
Oh, well, listen. Spider-Man Life Story #2 came out. It's by Chip Zdarsky and Mark Bagley. This is going to be like Spider-Man Blue, where people are like, okay, name your top 5 Spider-Man book recommendations. Life Story is going to be one of them.
Nice.
So if you want to be on the ground floor, if you want to be like, hey, I was watching like whatever Watch Mojo becomes in 5 years, and they were doing a top 5 Spider-Man book, and everyone recommended like Life Story. I remember when that book came out, and I read it month to month. Like, you want to be on that. You want to be on that list because like, or on that ground floor because Life Story is so good. So, okay, this issue, number 2, was the 70s with a gorgeously striking cover. By the way, Chip Zdarsky's not just a great writer, he's also a great artist, and he does the covers.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a great iconic cover that encapsulates the 70s.
Yes.
What's funny about it is I was expecting a very quintessentially 70s book. A lot of the earlier Spider-Man books that I read when I was a kid, when I was like filling in the gaps, were 70s books because they were so cheap.
Right.
Because in the 80s, like, more hotshot writers were coming in.
Okay.
But in the 70s, like, that was relatively untouched territory. So I read a lot of 70s book Spider-Man stuff where he's in college and he's, like, driving a moped and he's dating different people and, you know, he's fighting disco-themed supervillains. And
you're like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, but I was, like, I was captivated. And for me, Spider-Man in the 70s has a very specific feel to it.
Yeah.
This issue is not that. It's something else, but it does a really nice job of giving you this story that actually takes place in 77. It's not about like trying to recapture that feeling of books from like 40 years ago. It's just telling you a story about where Peter Parker is basically 10 years after the last issue.
Okay.
And he's married to Gwen Stacy. He works for Reed Richards. Reed Richards is a broken shell of a man whose wife left him for a fish man. You can probably fill in the gaps. Doc Ock was a villain, but Spider-Man slapped him around so much that he just basically said, no more, reformed, became an assistant. He works for Reed Richards and Peter Parker.
That's great.
It's a future I've never seen before. Harry Osborn, of course, is running Oscorp with Norman behind the scenes in prison because, of course, he was Green Goblin. He got his ass kicked. They took off his mask and he went to jail.
Right.
Meanwhile, Gwen
is
also a scientist. She works for Dr. Miles Warren, a.k.a. the Jackal. Now, when I talked to Chip Zdarsky on our episode of Elseworlds Exchange, I was like, what's the 90s going to be like? And he's like, obviously it's going to be clones. Like, obviously I have to do clones because, like, the 90s for Spider-Man is connected directly with clones. And I was like, okay, this issue's all about clones. And I was like, I thought you said that in 2 issues you're going to do clones again. Why now? And then I remembered that, like, Spider-Man Clone Genesis, Spider-Man fighting the Spider Clone and bringing back Gwen Stacy from death, that was a big part. And it took place in the 70s. So it kind of makes sense.
Wow.
So anyway, you can probably guess where this is going. Gwen works for Miles.
Yes.
The 2 of them were his students. Spider-Man gets a weird new costume that here's the thing. They debuts this costume. Mark Bagley does all the art, and he's great.
Yes.
It's such a weird...
It's very weird.
Terrible design. It's basically Spider-Man with some stuff on it. He's older. He's in his 30s. So, like, things are going to hurt a little more. So he's got pads on and stuff. My guess is that you're going to see Spider-Man's costume evolve throughout the series. That,
right.
Like, the first...
So he can keep being Spider-Man.
Right. And because, you know, it's been 10 years, my aesthetic's going to shift. You know? So, Flash Thompson died. Harry's opening up this club with his girlfriend, Mary Jane Watson. Because Harry and Mary Jane actually did date.
Yes.
And Peter and Gwen, you know, Norman Osborn's in jail. She didn't die.
Right.
So Gwen and Peter got married, and they're both, like, nerdy science people who work for different labs. Meanwhile, Mary Jane is, like, a party girl. And Harry is a drug addict who's depressed and feels the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Yeah.
So he runs in. He goes because he was invited by MJ and Harry. And Harry's passed out already. And Mary Jane and Peter talk a little bit. And basically Mary Jane says, like, you're pathetic, and you abandoned your friend and all of us, and, like, you think you're better than us, but you're not.
Wow.
And because Chip Zdarsky read Spider-Man, he knows that, like, Mary Jane knows he's Spider-Man, but Peter doesn't know that she knows. So she's like, you took your spider powers and you, like, selfishly protected yourself and, like, caught purse snatchers. You didn't do anything.
Right.
There's also an undercurrent, there's a subplot. Cap goes to Vietnam and Iron Man goes to Vietnam, and the 2 of them create, like, a Marvel Civil War over Vietnam. So, like, there's this whole civil war going on in Nam, and it extends the war farther than it should.
That's like a way better reason.
It's way better.
Wow.
And so Spider-Man, when the last issue was like wrestling with this idea of like, why didn't I go to Vietnam and use my powers responsibly? He actually bumps into Cap, and Cap's like, don't go to Vietnam. But he feels resentful, and Mary Jane is like, Flash died in Vietnam.
Right,
and maybe
right.
if Spider-Man were there, he would have helped him. Like, she blames him for a lot, and she's just... And it's funny to see, because it's Bagley's Mary Jane, so it looks familiar, but she's got, like, a feathered Farrah Fawcett-esque hairstyle.
Sure.
But it's just... The whole issue is great, and in keeping with these characters, even if, like, these characters are making you sad. Ultimately, Pete leaves Reed. He quits, because Reed is miserable and broken, and he's hoarding his unstable technology, like his unstable molecules technology. He's like, we should make this available. And Reed is basically like, you can't just trust people with this kind of thing. Like,
Okay.
if I, like, yes, my clothes stretch because I invented unstable molecules. If I introduce unstable molecules into the world, the clothing industry will be destroyed. Like, everything's delicate. He's not wrong. But Peter's an ideologist.
Right.
And so
right.
he's kind of like, screw you. Your wife left you for a fish man.
Right, but I mean, like, a new industry could, like...
Yeah, oh, I know. But,
come
like,
from that.
yeah, it's not your responsibility to harbor and hoard technology. But anyway, that's a philosophical debate.
Or cool.
Yeah, ultimately, Harry gets, basically goaded by his father into becoming the Black Goblin. Cool new design.
Yeah.
Harry becoming his own goblin, not being like the Green Goblin again. It's not bad. He goes and attacks Miles Warren and Gwen Stacy. Spider-Man shows up.
Oh, no.
Because
Okay.
the idea is that, like, Norman knows something about what Miles is up to.
Oh.
So Harry blows up a wall in Miles's lab. Miles is like, no, don't do it. The wall explodes, and within the wall are a number of clones.
Oh, look at that.
And Harry's like, you're not supposed to make multiple clones. You're supposed to be working for my dad. And he's like, yeah, well, like, I have my own reasons for doing this. So Harry and Peter fight, because Norman tells Harry who he is. And ultimately, the two of them reconcile.
Okay.
It takes, like, 2 pages.
Like, why the hell would they be fighting?
Yeah, well, because, like, they're ridiculous. But it takes like a page and a half for them to realize how stupid that is. So then Harry says, like, screw this, and he throws the pumpkin bomb. He's like, I'm not working for my dad anymore, screw this. He throws the pumpkin bombs at the clones and destroys them.
Yeah.
And that's when Warren reveals, because, like, you're thinking, like, oh, Jesus, Warren made, like a clone to bang.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. Like, Gwen was hurt, and so I put her in, like, a Bacta tank, and I cloned her for, like, because I needed to help her. But I have this other clone so no one would notice. And you married her.
The clone?
Yeah. And then eventually I'd wake up real Gwen, and then she'd probably run away with me. And you're like, oh! No! Ugh! Oh, and one clone made it. It was Peter.
You mean Ben Reilly?
Well, yeah. So, ultimately, Peter, like, the Ben Reilly clone and the Gwen Stacy wife of Peter Parker leave together. Because they're like, screw this, we're not real. So they bail. And Peter is just broken, and he's living with Mary Jane. And it's a kind of echo of the end of the original Clone Genesis, in which the Gwen clone leaves, and then Peter is, like, gonna fall apart in his apartment, and Mary Jane won't leave him alone. And it's, it's so good, and you've got to read it. It's just such an excellent series. I can't wait for the 80s. You know, the cover looks great.
Ooh, it does.
And, of course,
it's the black suit.
Yeah, it's the black suit. You're going to get also the whole war thing. It's great. I assume, because the black suit in its coffin, Kraven the Hunter, Last Hunt.
Roomful of spiders.
Roomful of Spiders, Buried Alive. It's a great series. Buy it.
Wow.
Buy this book. Don't just listen to me tell you it's not worth it.
Wow.
Estelthani says, Keep being awesome, guys. Thank
Oh my
you,
gosh,
Estelthani, for
thank
your
you.
incredible generosity, and also keep being
Crazy.
awesome yourself, man.
Yes.
Will we cover Uncanny this week? I didn't read any Uncanny this week. I've
I
actually
didn't
been.
see that it came out. I'm having a really hard time.
Oh, it's Comixology's
Comixology.
website is a disaster. And because they don't help us out and they're not like letting us like sell books to you guys using a promo code, like I have no problem telling them that their website's shit and they need to get their shit together.
I just want to pull list.
But yeah, no, and they did them before, and it actually they used to have a pull list when they first started.
Yeah.
And I created one, and then like I removed the books, but it still kept emailing me, and you couldn't remove yourself from the email list. There was no way to physically remove yourself from their list. I had to like ban Comixology's like basically DNS in order to keep from getting those emails.
Wow.
That's how bad it was. But I'm basically avoiding X-Men until Hickman comes on board.
Okay.
So yeah, but I will try to check it out. Everyone's loving Age of X-Man. I'm not like the biggest. I'm not excited for it because I'm like, why would I want like a low rent House of M meets like Age of Apocalypse? But you know, I've been wrong before.
There you go.
War of the Realms #2 came out.
Yes. Oh wait, did you read the end of the Avengers thing? Didn't that come out too this week?
Avengers?
Yeah.
Like the book Avengers? Oh, No Road Home. No, I didn't read it yet.
Oh, I did. I thought you had.
No, how'd it go?
You know what? I had. Okay, so let me.
By the way, No Road Home weekly series, never was late.
Let me roll myself back here for a second. I really didn't read this series. I read all of issue 6. I read most of issue 7. I glanced through 8 and 9, and then I read 10.
Fair enough.
We all know why I read 6. It's Conan.
Because Conan, yeah, you thought Doctor Strange, but no, Conan.
No, it's Conan, because they were in the Hyborian realm, and that was pretty freaking cool. Let's be honest. I had a good time with that. I thought it went really well. I also don't want to ruin it for you if you hadn't had a chance to read it.
Fair enough. But it's a great series. Weekly.
I really wish you had read it.
That's fair. You can just talk about it. It's okay.
I don't know. I don't know. Because, like, it's
I know where Conan ends up.
Yeah. Conan ends up in the Savage Land. That's awesome. That is awesome. I really wish you had read this because I really wanted to get your thoughts on this because it really ends up being all about Vision, and he's talking with what's-her-face.
Yeah, he's in the House of Ideas. I saw, like...
Yeah, they literally mentioned the House of Ideas. He mentions Marvels. He literally basically creates things, and, like, it's like the characters come to life.
Yes.
And it's, like, it's...
I saw that, like, page.
Kind of incredible, and, like, that I just, I don't know how to feel about it. Because, like, I'm like, on the one hand, I think it's really cool, and I'm like, I just don't know if it's, like, trite. But I don't think it is.
No, I think it's actually legitimate.
Like, it's really, really, like...
It's written by people who know what they're talking about, and
Yes.
whose opinions I trust when it comes to Marvel.
Yes, and honestly, the splash page of, like,
Everyone.
all of the characters coming together and fighting, I was just like, that is so, like, quintessentially, like, old school Marvel.
Yes.
These images of, like, the universes coming together and not worrying about who's writing who and, like, not worrying about who's fighting with who. Just everybody coming together for one common goal, regardless of the fact that right now we are doing War of the Realms simultaneously. But this did just come to an end, so kind of good timing on their part.
Yeah.
And who knows about the timing. But, like, honestly, like, just seeing the teams and, like just Vision's, like, understanding of creation and, like, humanity and, like, I mean, I guess, like, also, like, metahumans to some degree and, like, what it means and, like, why she isn't the end of everything.
Right.
And that, like, you know, sure, like, you know, at the end of the day, yes, she may come back because on the other side of light there is the darkness, but, like,
this is Nyx you're talking about.
Yes, like, there'll still be someone here, like, to fight back, basically. And it's just Vision who goes in there, and it's just, I don't know, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I kind of dug it. And, like, I wish I had actually read all of this, because I think, truth be told, I would have enjoyed this run of Avengers more than I think you might have.
Oh, I mean, the book is good.
Okay.
And I like it.
Felt about the team. And,
I
like,
love
the
it
characters.
more than Jason Aaron's Avengers.
Okay.
I find Jason Aaron's Avengers to be boring.
Okay, that's fair then. But I gotta tell you, Nyx's design, every time I see it, I just love it.
Yeah.
Because she's like, it's like old school Greek goddess.
Right. And you're meant to think of that.
Very, very, like, interesting. And, like, they do this really cool effect with her, like, and, like, using monochromatic black and white imagery with her and having Vision on top of that in his full color.
Yeah.
Which is just a very striking
definitely.
visual. But, like, also, like, a lot of, like, sort of, like, wink fourth wall breaking on Vision's part without him actually talking to us. It's more, it's an implied, which I appreciate because it's like it's the subtlety.
It's less lazy.
It is less lazy, like, you know. But like the moment they said, you know, he mentions like heroes and he's like Marvels.
Yes.
And I was
no.
I'm like, what? And then he mentions the House of Ideas, and I'm like,
oh, no, it's genius.
So it was a lot of fun. I read that. I didn't realize you hadn't. I'm sorry.
No,
so I had read another book.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Just a good time had by all. Kind of like a heartwarming story.
Right.
And Conan gets to be in it.
And Conan's in it.
And Conan and Wanda.
Uh-oh.
What a great possible relationship that doesn't happen. Because they're both hung up on things.
Right.
Didn't you read 6?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they totally almost kiss and bang.
Yeah.
But then they don't because he's still hooked up on Belit. And she's still with Vision.
Right.
And she's like, I can't. He's like, neither can I. I'm really still sad about this whole thing. Because, like, Conan's going through some stuff right now where he's just like, anything I care about dies.
Right.
And I don't understand why, he mentioned that earlier, but, like, why, like, all these monsters and stuff like that don't.
Right.
And then he goes to Savage Land.
Yeah.
He's just killing dinosaurs. I'm like, okay, why not?
Right.
So, all right, there you go. So, if you missed out on this like I did, I picked up at 6, pretty much made it through to the end. I think I want to go back and read the rest of it, or maybe I'll just wait if you're going to do a back issues.
We will do a back issues, but like it's going to take a while for the book to come out.
That's true.
But good, recommend it.
Yeah, I do.
War of the Realms number 2.
Yes.
Jason Aaron, Russell Dowderman. The war rages on, and it's like fun. Who'd have thought that?
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, I know we're gonna actually get into the story, but I don't want to forget to mention this.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about the art?
It's good.
It's really good, and it does something I haven't really seen done too much in comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's the artist or the colorist. I almost want to lend it to the colorist more.
Mm-hmm.
The utilization of a gentle blur effect on some things in the foreground of the panels really is very eye-catching and creates far more depth, obviously, in the panel, but it felt like it was drawing me in more so.
Yeah.
And it gave the book almost more weight because it creates this cinematic quality almost. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tactic, a device I've seen used, but only sparingly or incompetently, because it's like, oh, it's a new thing, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
This felt like a George Perez book, but with more modern panel composition.
What's funny is I felt like the art style itself was more Frank Quitely.
Yeah, well, the characters look like Frank Quitely designed them.
Yes, or it's like the line art. There's something. There's a delicate nature to that, which I always feel like he has.
There's also a weird hyper detail to it.
Yes,
but everyone is still beautiful, and it works.
It really does.
But it feels like an old school Marvel book while also still maintaining its modern sensibilities.
Yeah.
I think it's why they have Arthur Adams drawing the covers.
That could be
to remind you of classic Marvel, but being this is classic Marvel, but it's also new.
Right.
Because we talked about Thor, X-Men Asgardian Wars, and Arthur Adams did the later art, and you were like. And it's easy to dismiss it with old school coloring, but when you saw the pencils, you're like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
this is new art.
Yeah, that blew me away seeing the pencils in the back of that book, and it made me sad that that book wasn't published with enhanced pencils instead of having the inks on top.
Yeah, the inks don't
inks kind of ruined it.
They do, but no, those but Arthur Adams is there's no mistaking it, and there's no mistake as to why they want you to think of that.
Yeah.
But War of the Realms feels like an old Marvel event, but it's good.
Yes.
So, yeah. So jumping into what actually happens in this story, it's just the war keeps going.
Right, and we get a moment there where it's almost Hearts of Darkness.
Yeah.
Because it's Wolverine and Punisher.
Wolverine and Punisher,
and
hey!
the van!
And the van. No Ghost Rider, though.
Yeah.
But, the Dark Elves can be hurt by a special,
just iron.
Iron.
They're weak against iron, which is...
And Frank's got plenty of that, and apparently also adamantium.
Well, Wolverine's does this work? Apparently so.
Does stabbing them with three knives happen? So you got Frank and Wolverine teaming up, and you get a great little fourth wall breaking, hey, heard you were dead. Nope. Okay. Cap takes down an entire frost giant by himself in a beautiful two panel sequence.
It is really
there's a 2 front war. There's the big cool showy shit,
Yeah.
And then there's also like the Roxxon executive that takes down the network, so like people can't communicate with each other.
Well, it's not only that, but it like really destroys Wakanda's ability to actually help out in like a grander sense of evacuation.
Yes, and that's what they're trying to do. The whole crux of this issue is they're trying to evacuate everyone from the city so they're not like slaughtered by Lord of the Rings.
Basically, Lord of the Rings is attacking. But like Malekith's like really come at this in an intelligent way in which he's attacking them not only like in a physical sense, magical, and also the technological. Like he's hit them on all fronts. And it's pretty spectacular. Like this plan. It's a hell of a plan.
Yeah. Also, Odin didn't die.
No, which I was just like, that makes sense.
Yeah, and he makes nice with the Valkyries and just goes right in. Also, Valkyrie from classic Marvel shows up to help. Jane Foster is also like free of cancer, I guess. I missed that one.
Yeah, well, she went to chemo.
Right, but like they implied she's done, like that's over.
Well, I mean, everyone always hopes that.
Right. I don't know. She was terminal in the last couple of series. But anyway. But she's like, I'm gonna help. I'm part of this.
Yeah. By the way, that image
of Odin and the Valkyries riding in
is just unbelievable.
Yep.
Put any I'm sure everybody heard all different music. When
exactly.
That happened.
Yeah. Metal or classic.
It was metal for me.
Yeah. Doctor Strange is trying to teleport people out of there.
Yes.
It's not working. He does reference the Jason Aaron ring.
I know. By the way, like I you know me. I love Aaron Strange. So like I was just like, this is like a little hug.
Yeah.
It's like a little hug.
He's like, I'm trying to, like, Doc, can you get everybody out of here? He's like, it's going to cost me.
Well, it's like, he references two things. He's like, that spell's got a hell of a cost.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to pay it. But I'm honestly experiencing some performance issues right now. And that's because of Malekith's, like, witches that he has that are, like, dampening the magic in the area.
Yeah. Ultimately, something gets screwed up, and the Avengers are basically teleported away.
Well, it's not that they get screwed up. Jane Foster or Blade runs into the witches,
kills the witches.
No, he doesn't. He gets caught up by them, and then Jane Foster shows up. They take out the witches, and then Strange is like, "The spell is working. Get everyone out now." But he loses control of it because it's too strong, and it pulls more than it should have.
Yes,
including the Avengers are there, and some of the Asgardians, but not the Valkyries.
No, just Freya and Odin and everybody else.
Yeah.
So they regroup on inside the body of a dead Celestial in an arc that I hated from Jason Aaron, and basically they're like, we gotta fight this war on multiple tie-ins. I mean fronts. And so there's a tie-in of like fun street level characters. Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Wolverine are gonna team up, and Spider-Man's gonna get his own tie-in and stuff.
In terms of we have this issue with tie-ins. I'm not a fan of tie-ins, but like were a book to have tie-ins, this does make sense. Malekith does come at them on multiple levels, but there's only so much they can show us in this book.
Yes.
I get it, fine. At least it makes sense narratively. Whether or not I am going to pick them up is a totally different conversation.
Yep. Sif mentions that Heimdall is in need of some assistance, and Daredevil lends a hand.
Yes, because he's blind. Oh, a blind man who needs to see. Come here. Come talk to me.
Yes. Also, have you heard the good word about making blind men see?
Get the hell out of here.
Meanwhile, Valkyrie fights valiantly, but is slaughtered by Malekith.
Yeah, all of the Valkyries die, and since Freya is going to go off and find her son, because Thor is the key to all this, according to Loki.
Yep.
And Odin shows up, does nothing, and gets waylaid. And Freya's like, "Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Thanks.
I'll take care of business.
Yeah,
now.
I got this." So she's gonna go, but she's like, "All right, so Odin's gotta go do the Odin sleep in order to heal. I'm not gonna be here. If something happens to me, someone has to be in charge. Jane Foster, you and I are the All Mother."
Right.
I was like, "What? That's cool."
It's dope. And so yeah, it's just a cool Marvel event, and I'm digging it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, very much so.
It's gonna read really well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And this is an instance, I think, where it's like this is a better executed, but has the same enjoyable spirit of everybody working together that Monsters Unleashed had.
Yeah. All right.
Much better, far better execution, I will say. 100%. But that spirit of everyone coming together because we got to take care of business.
Right.
And I'm like, that's cool. And that's what I dig about the Marvel Universe. And that's what I dig about events usually is like everybody coming together and like working towards a common goal.
That's what we all want to see.
Yeah.
Though I will say, two of your favorite Marvel writers worked on both those events. It was Jason Aaron does this one, and Cullen Bunny did the Monsters Unleashed. So Estelle Thani mentions regarding the Uncanny X-Men run, he says Cyclops is a literal Cyclops now. Yeah, you gotta poke his eye out. Juggernaut joins the X-Men.
Oh.
And Rain and Joseph are dead. Yeah, which good riddance.
Oh no, not Joseph.
Yeah, although it is sad to see Wolfsbane die. Because Wolfsbane, all she wanted was to bang that poor Asgardian wolf.
Oh, it's so true. Maybe she went there. Maybe
she's a warrior.
Oh, she can't
or
go to...
Malekith killed her.
She can't go to Valhalla. That's over.
No.
Which that's messed up.
Yeah, that's another thing.
By the way, Aaron doing the thing that he does best, talking about, taking Norse mythology and, playing with it, of course. But, when he mentions that, it's just, the Valkyries would ferry warriors to Valhalla.
But now all the Valkyries are dead.
He's like, who takes the Valkyries?
Right.
No one. I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah. It's really cool.
So I always got to leave a couple Valkyries behind.
Right. You always got to leave someone to guard the base.
Yeah.
Cash money in the bank. No, I'm sorry. Mr. Roboto says, at work, off topic. You ever visit the Secret Stash?
Yeah.
I go there at least 3 times a year. We have friends there, so now we go there a lot more.
We not only visited there, but we had our photos.
Our first look wedding for our wedding was there.
Yeah.
We have some sick wedding photos taken there. I visited there the first time in 2000. They were closed when I got there. Took 45 minutes to get there in a blizzard, and they were closed.
There was no sign that said, I assure you they're open.
No, there was a sign that said...
I assure you we're closed.
Yeah, no, there was a handwritten sign on the door that said, closed due to pipe backup and overpowering stench from next door. That's what it said. I'll never forget. Because every time I told that story, people said, did you call first? And I was like, thank you.
There's no way you could have known that.
No.
Anyway.
Cash Money in the Bank says, I really enjoyed War Scrolls #1, several smaller stories that tie in meaningful ways.
Pick that up. I haven't had a chance to go through it yet.
They don't feel adjacent or forced. Daredevil story is really cool. I'll check that out.
Now, see, the only reason I picked it up, and I couldn't tell, and the reason I did is my own curiosity, was that in the listing, Marvel said that this one was a necessity.
Right.
When I looked at the Punisher one that came out, it didn't mention anything like that. So I was like, I don't know if they're doing this as a ploy for me to purchase this, or honestly because it's you probably should read this issue.
I'm sure there's actual information in there.
So I did pick it up. I just haven't had an opportunity, honestly, to read it.
Also, I read Naomi #4. It's by Bendis and Jamal Campbell. Actually, David F. Walker and Bendis worked on this one along with Jamal Campbell. The art's great. Story's fine. They promise that they're going to tell you Naomi's origin, and they don't, in true Bendis fashion. This is the book that clearly Bendis wants to write. Okay. It's well written. It's got a fun mystery, I guess.
Right.
Steeped in the lore of DC books that Bendis read. So it's par for the course.
Right.
It's one of the best series from DC right now, probably, in terms of new characters.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
Yeah. And Naomi's doing a good job. It's neat.
Okay.
There's no superheroics. But they do reference the Rand Thanagar War in the exact same way that Bendis would refer to the Kree Skrull War. So get used to that. Now, recommending books this week. I got very few.
Okay.
In fact, I only have one.
Okay.
They are Batman noiring Gotham by Gaslight. So if you're not familiar with Batman Noir or Batman Black and White, they got a big black and white book.
Yep.
Just pencils and inks.
Yeah.
Gotham by Gaslight from Brian Augustine and Mike Mignola. It's hardcover.
Oh, okay. I can see why they might do that, because honestly, you have to have art that stands up really well without its coloration to make that work, and I think Mignola can do that.
Also, we have Batman Black Mirror by Jock.
Yes, and of course, as we know, Jock's inks are incredible. I don't know if you saw that tweet that he put out.
If you haven't already, go on Twitter, go to Jock420.
Yeah.
Which I think it's his birthday, by the way. He was told that 420 is a joke.
Well, he's British.
And he was like, oh.
You know what I mean? He doesn't, it's different.
Yeah.
They don't have that police code over there. But no, he tweeted out next issue of the Batman Who Laughs, and he basically had all of his inks on the floor, and he had done the whole issue in 18 hours. And I was like,
took him 18 hours to do the whole issue. Are you kidding me?
I'm like, you are a machine, sir.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Anyway, but yeah, so
pick it up.
The noir thing. That's pretty cool.
It's cool. It'll I think it's $30.
Oh, okay.
Also, don't buy Heroes in Crisis #8. Comes out. Clayman. Hopefully, we'll get a good book one day.
Right.
The cover's gorgeous, but again, Heroes in Crisis is a trick and a trap, and it's hurting DC. Don't buy it. Don't read it. It's bad. Hey, Benny, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show. Oh, crap. Benny jumped into the super chats as well.
Oh, crap.
So,
All right,
sorry, I missed you, man.
Do this.
Hey, are we doing the weekly pull tomorrow? Just curious. Also, what were your thoughts on Super Sons? No, wait, Batman 69 and Super Sons. I haven't read Super Sons yet, but Batman 69, of course, a big waste of time. Nobody should read it. We are doing the weekly pull tomorrow, unless we want to wait until next week to do Avengers Endgame.
Oh.
Which probably makes more sense. Yeah.
Well, thanks for the super chat,
Thanks for the
man.
super chat, Benny.
We'll talk it up later about the weekly poll and all that.
True that.
My recommendations, Mr. and Mrs. X number 10 is coming out. This is concluding the Mojo World arc that's been going on. Are they going to escape? I don't know, but we're gonna find out. It's written by Kelly Thompson. She does an amazing job. She truly loves these characters. It's really nice when the writers love the characters this much, so go get it. They'll probably
give Kelly Thompson like an X-Men event, so like, help her out now before everyone hates her.
You're gonna want to get on board. Also, Doctor Strange number 13 comes out. Galactus.
Yep.
It's Mark Waid.
Nope.
It's whatever. And I also just want to mention also that Justice League Dark number 10 is coming out. My favorite magical book right now. We're dealing with all of Dr. Fate and the Lords of Order, having gone off into whatchamacallit. And also Wonder Woman is attempting to find Mordru, Lord of Chaos, in order to stop all of this. So we'll see what happens. They're all gonna have to come back around at some point.
Totes.
And for you indie fans who were a fan of Descender.
Oh yeah, the Jeff Lemire book with Dustin Nguyen.
Yes.
Or Nguyen.
They're making another series called Ascender.
Oh, so it's a sequel series.
It is a sequel series taking place 10 years later.
Cool.
So if you're a Descender fan, you may want to go and pick up Ascender. So I just wanted to throw that out there, make you guys aware of it. Just if you're wondering, because I saw the name Ascender and I was like, don't they...
Yeah.
Let's just Descender and click on it. Oh, no, it's literally just that.
Is.
So just as a heads up.
Great. So, with that in mind, we want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. With especially huge thanks to our super chatters out there. We are so appreciative. We are so lucky to have you. Thank you so
seriously.
much. Visit us at patreon.com/ComicPOP to help us out on a weekly basis or however long it is. I think it's monthly. And stay tuned to this channel. We got a lot of stuff. We had a lot of videos come out last week, and I wanted to just kind of like raise your attention to that because like some of those things get lost in the cracks. You know what I mean? We make a lot of videos, and I'm trying to figure out what the good balance is going to be.
Yeah.
But in case you've missed it, there's an Elseworlds Exchange where we talk about all kinds of stuff. We've got a back issues that came out last week. We have a comic line that came back. It's our favorite. It's a great show we like to do where we just kind of hash out a topic. It's me and Ben talking about turtles.
Yeah.
And not just any turtles, but Teenage Mutant Ninja variety.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not like just regular turtles.
No.
Oh.
But check those videos out if you have a chance. Just check out the channels. Go to the main page, youtube.com/ComicPOP. Check the main page and just look at what's there. I also put a bunch of I curated a couple of things, so take a look.
Very nice.
And of course, we are so lucky to have you. Thank you all so much. And we'll see you guys next time with another episode Off the Rack. But stay tuned on this channel. Of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell for notifications because that's the only way you get notifications. That's the only way you're going to know these things are happening.
Yeah.
So that you know when we're going live and we're doing something next. So that's all for now. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm Sal.
I'm Tiffany.
So long, everybody.
Bye, guys.